Hey folks, and thanks for joining me. This is going to be my first part work I've ever done. We're going to be doing Fanhome's Iron Man Mark III. Let's just get at it. So this is the first part work I've ever done, and I didn't actually even know about Partworks until my friends over at Hobby Time Modelers actually turned me on to these. And there's a couple of different companies that offer them, and Fanhome is one of them. And I always liked Iron Man as a kid, and I thought, this would be a really cool thing to do, and something to kind of ease my way into it. Fanhome offers a subscription service, and that's how these Partworks work. It's basically like a subscription service to anything else where you pay a monthly fee. They ship you parts to your home, and then you assemble the stages as they come in. And in this case, my Iron Man is coming in 12 different packs. So 12 packs with 100 stages in there. So the first stage that we're starting off here with is his head. And you'll notice we're just going to be putting things together with screws and snap fit. And we're also going to be doing some wiring. So you can see, for example, here, this one switch that I put in. You can actually see the contactors coming together there. So everything you're going to be doing just requires a screwdriver. No special tools or anything like that. And they even include a screwdriver. Now, I've heard from a lot of folks that know these much better than I that the screwdrivers that come with them are not the greatest. So if you have your own set, that's great. And if not, they'll include one for you to use. This is what's really cool with these, is seeing them all lit up. This Iron Man helmet was probably the most involved stage that I had so far. And this is stage 1, which is really cool. You get to do a lot in this stage with building his entire helmet, including the switch and wiring for the lighting. And this just looks so cool when it's finished. After stage 1, I was so excited. I mean, look at how cool that is, guys. That is just so neat to see that all lit up in the dark. So the next stage is his foot. So like I said, these come in stages. So each stage, you're going to be building a small sub-assembly of the greater assembly, which will turn into your Iron Man figure. Which in this case, he's fully articulatable. Is that a word? He can articulate? Does that make him I don't know. So anyway, you can fully move him into any kind of position you want, naturally, of course. So here we see his foot. You can see I'm putting the LED in place. Yeah, and this is the bottom of his foot, and this is for like his jet boosters that are on the bottom of his feet. So again, you're going to wire things, assemble things, but it's all going to be screws. And the only thing you really got to pay attention to, in my opinion, outside of the obvious instructions that are included in each stage that tell you step by step how to do it, and their pictures are very well done. The instructions are very easy to follow. The one thing you got to watch is your wire management. This kit here is not bad at all. This part work with Iron Man, there's not a lot of wires thus far that I've run into. But there are times where the amount of space inside the part can be very limited, so you want to be careful to make sure all your wires are put in a place so they don't get pinched and whatnot when you close things up. So you can see this foot, for example, everything just snaps into place, screws into place, and this last piece is a little magnetic cover. So there's actually a magnet in there that covers up the battery housing and the switch, so you can easily pop that off, turn the lights on, and pop this cover back on. So that's his head and his foot. Now we're moving on to stage 3, which is his hand. You can see all of the little links and stuff in there for his fingers. And one thing to point out here is they have all the parts labeled here. So like this is labeled 1R. So everything that's labeled 1R will go together. And this is actually his thumb. And they are fully articulating. Again, that word. Just like our real thumb. So I just think this is really cool, how we can pose him whatever way we want. And once you put the pieces together, you can screw them in and they'll still be movable. Obviously, you want to adjust your tightness based on how much you want to be able to move them. You don't want to make them super tight or you won't be able to move their fingers. So moving on to the other 4 fingers, obviously there's 3 links, so we have 3 parts to put together. And once you screw them all in, you can see they're still fully movable, workable, just like our tracks. Workable. There we go. And when you're done, you got 5 fingers. Look at that. Beautiful. Now, we have to work on the palm. So you can see this is another die cast part. And when you're putting screws in the die cast, you're going to want to use some kind of 3-in-1 oil. I have this little pumper that the Hobby Time Modeler guys told me about. We're going to see that here in just a moment. Here we are. You can pump oil out of it. Now, I found out that my hose had busted on mine, the little plastic hose that's in the bottom that actually pumps up through. I had to fix that. That's why it wasn't pumping out real nice, but they work real well. I did run into one issue here with this battery cover in the battery cover with the battery housing and this switch. I did have to come in with my hobby blade and chisel out a little bit of this hold area, housing area for the switch, just because the wires were too wide to fit down in here. So I did have to trim that. And then once I was able to trim that just with my hobby blade, the switch fit right down in there. Nice and snug, fit right down in there. And now we have our battery housing and switch all ready to go into the palm of that hand. So again, this is for the lighted part of his hand, right, that he uses for both shooting things out of and also for blasting around, flying around. So at this point we can put all the fingers in place, and I just set them right in place as you see, starting with this thumb, all 4 fingers. And then we're going to close it all up with the palm. Now, again, I mentioned how tight this is. Oh, look at the size of that hand. So you need to make sure all your wires are in place, or else this palm won't close very well. So you got to be careful about how you route your wires and whatnot. And look at that, we have a fully workable hand. So I don't know if I mentioned the scale yet to you guys. This is a 1/3 scale. So the Iron Man suit will be 2 feet tall when we're done with it. So pretty big scale, and you saw the size compared to my hand, and I have pretty big hands, so it's a pretty big suit here. So again, with our LEDs, we can see it look really good in the dark, and then we have that magnetic cover just like we did on the foot, so we can easily snap that on and off, turn the lights on and off if we want, or change batteries. Moving on to stage 4, we have the reactor in Iron Man's chest. Again, most of these parts, they all just snap in or screw in. There's no glue required. At least I haven't found any so far on this build. There are some Partworks where you do need to use some super glue, but in Iron Man so far it's been real easy. Everything's been snap fit, like this LED, just push it into place, or some other plastic parts in his arms that we'll get to in a moment. Everything just snaps in or screws in, and again they include a screwdriver if you need one that small, and it's real easy. So it's real easy to get started on these things. So we have this clear cover to put on yet. And then we're going to snap this into the back of the reactor. And that's what's going to allow us to light this thing up. And boy, does it look good when it's all lit up. This is probably my favorite part, apart from the eyes of the helmet. It just looks so good. Moving on to stage 5. So this is the part where the stages might start to go together. So in other words, stage 5 and 6 are going to come together to make the elbow. So in this case we have, I believe this is the outside of the elbow, and then we have the upper arm and forearm parts, joint parts there that we're attaching. So then moving on to stage 6, we have the inner part of that. So like I was saying, this is the part where the stages kind of run together to make a whole part. So in the beginning we had stage 1, the head, stage 2, the foot, and stage 3, the hand, stage 4, the reactor. Now it took stages 5 and 6 to come together to make the elbow joint. This is just the elbow joint, that's what we got. After we screw that together, we still have fully workable upper arm and forearm joints, which looks really good. On this kit, too, quality-wise, a lot of the stuff is made of die-cast metal. I mean, the quality of this forearm pieces, they're beautiful. But you can see the difference between the die-cast and the plastic in terms of the inside. But on the outside, they look just as good. The paint job is really well done. The only minor thing I've found thus far is that on some of the plastic parts, you'll find injection mold seams, just like we do on our model kits. But they're typically in places where you won't notice them. But there's nothing that I've seen so far that, you know, detracted from the overall quality of the build. Everything is fit together perfectly, no issues, outside of that one switch I showed you guys earlier, which again was a minor thing. So no major showstoppers or holdups. So after we have those parts together, we have a working elbow joint and the outside of the forearm. So again, I mentioned stage 5 and stage 6 made up the elbow. Stage 7 and stage 8 are going to make up the forearm. And actually, we're even going to go into stage 9 really to complete this off. So stage 8 is going to be the inside of that forearm. So we can see, again, the parts just snap together real nice and easy. And they look really good. The finish on these is really nice. Now this here is actually the wrist joint that we're putting together. Again, this just snaps into place, and then we're going to put a screw through there. And again, you want to watch your tightness on the screw to make sure that you still have adjustability afterwards. They gave us this nice rubber fitting. Then we can tie the two pieces of the forearm together, and that's going to make it look really nice when we attach it to the wrist. Now at this point, it does not say in the instructions about attaching anything to the wrist, so I did not attach anything. But you can see I just used my 3-in-1 oil on my screws before I screw them into die cast. This next step here is to finish off the forearm. We had one more piece that wasn't attached. So we can see we're just going to snap it into these holes here. And the fit is just beautiful. It's nice to be able to just snap them on there. And then we do have a piece for over the elbow too. It's like an elbow guard. That's what that black peg was for earlier. I wanted to show you this. You can see how nicely labeled all the parts are. Between the ease of the instructions reading, like you can just, you know what you need to do. All the parts are clearly labeled. It's really easy to see how to put these together. It really doesn't take any kind of special knowledge to put them together. They just all snap or screw together. And here you can see that square is just snapping right together. Then from here, we have the shoulder joint to put together. And this comes in 3 pieces. And this is going to be left off the model for a little while, but we're going to start by putting these pieces of like wax paper with a sticky back on there, and these are going to act like bearings for the shoulder. We're just going to put these round pieces together, and then we will assemble it as one piece. Again, there's 3 parts that go into this, so we will assemble the outer part, then the workable part, and then the other outer part, I guess it would be the inside part, and put a screw through there, or actually a bolt rather, with a nut on the other side. And we have workable shoulder. And then we have the outer parts of that shoulder joint. So here we have some springs that we're going to install on here. Then these are going to attach to this black piece that we're going to add. And again, this lets us move the shoulder joint, and I think there's some other stuff that attaches to this later. But we do have to use a pair of tweezers to attach the springs to the black arm there that's there, and then we have these covers to go over and hide everything. And again, this is the shoulder joint. So this really is starting to come together real nicely. So then from here, I think there was one more stage I had to do, which was the base. Here you can see how everything moves. The paint job is really good. Everything looks really nice. It's all movable. So yeah, that was stage 11. Now, the last stage that came with this shipment was the base, and this is stage 1. This is all metal, by the way. So I mean, there are some plastic parts that you saw thus far. A lot of his stuff was metal, die-cast metal. This base is also made of die-cast, and you can see there's a little chipboard in there, some wires, and a button. And this is for the lit up base, so this is included. This isn't anything separate that you have to order. It comes with your subscription. I did find this one piece of flashing on this button. It's such a minor thing, but just wanted to point it out just to nip it off, because if you didn't nip it off, you might have trouble with the button setting on there. And this is the button I was talking about. So this is a button, or a switch you might call it, to turn the light on to the base. So you just press that and it turns the base light on and off. Now we don't have the base light yet. We just have the switch, and we have the board to plug everything into. And pay attention, make sure you organize this board the right way. GH is towards the middle. Just a little side note. It does show this in the instructions clearly as well, but just wanted to point that out, that it's important, I'm sure, for later. And here's what we have. After 11 stages, plus the base, these are all the parts we have. So it's a pretty good start. And this is a 12-month build, and this is 2 months in what you're seeing. Pack 1 and 2 come in the first shipment, and then 3 through 11 come in the second, if you're doing the 1 year bit. So, hey, if you guys like this, hey, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I've never done a Partwork before, so if this is something you guys are interested in, I'll definitely do more. But you guys got to let me know by liking, subscribing, and commenting if this is more what you want to see. So, appreciate it, guys, and thank you so much.